well, 28 days, we're already 30, 40 pans
Oh,
down, you know,
yeah, there we
and
go.
we're
We got a
breaking
schedule
this
for
stuff,
next
saying,
year.
nope, number 4 was
So
bad,
Stacy's
number
gonna be
3 was
on
bad. Go back,
Zoom.
jack 'em out.
Okay. Who
We had
else?
issues. I was talking to
Bruce?
Critical forces. We had issues.
Is
So
he
we were at
okay?
a point where we only had a couple of suppliers in the state that would let, because, I mean.
I don't know.
some
He may be
companies
out, he may
just
be out of the
talk to
city.
trained air
I'm
and
not
they
sure.
didn't have a clue,
Okay.
and, you know, you get a hot load,
Sarah
they,
and
they,
Sue
you
are
know,
not.
and you know how it is.
Yeah, Sarah's,
They
Sarah,
break, you're gonna get
yeah, for health
80% of
reasons.
your
Yeah.
base design is gonna break right there.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you've got a problem.
Crazy
But
world we
you
live
have-
in.
We're a little scared for
I
last
used
council
to have
meeting.
a hard time
Happened to miss that
most
meeting.
of
What
it.
happened?
Read about Council Hayes had a.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess he's doing okay.
They would say, "Oh,
Yeah.
no,
He
our
had a
people
stroke.
tested."
Yeah.
That's what they
It
said.
doesn't matter.
I don't know, maybe- Maybe it's because he saw Phil Brouillard in the front, in the front row.
That's right, yeah.
Maybe.
That should be a heart attack, huh?
It was a little bit different when we got over.
I like Phil.
There was slum tests and
Yep.
stuff on things coming out.
How you doing, Chief?
Germans don't do
Good, how are
slum
you?
tests, they do
All right,
spread
they keeping
tests.
you busy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that was something new to me. when I
Always
got
busy.
in there. I was like, "Spread tests? Wait a second, I'll give you a slum code." They're like,
Today,
"No,
my
this is
whole
how we
house
do it."
was vibrating and I don't know why. I went and looked because it felt the same as the sheet piles.
Yeah.
And they were just doing excavation, but they must have been like
Coming out of the truck. That's how-
hitting
that's what they
some
want.
at the bottom hard.
They don't
Yeah,
want
it's not
anything,
hard
you know,
material,
Any extra
yeah.
water.
Yep.
And everybody else.
You
wants
wouldn't
to just
believe
wet
how
down
big
and
that
stuff.
wall is. Yeah,
Trying to explain
yeah.
that.
That's the closest wall to me is the two-story parking
I
garage.
used to-
Okay.
used to stress
And,
with
and it,
people that
and
they
it
said,
stops and then there's gonna be a gap because it's gonna be columns, so it'll be open on the sides.
cement ratio
Okay.
came
Starting to
less,
take shape.
you know, so if
Yeah.
you're
It's
not
your new
eating
wailing
it,
wall.
they go down the-
Yeah, my new wailing
go
wall. Maybe we
around the
could
corner.
create a little shrine.
Well, I'm trying to explain, even,
Yeah.
I watch guys around here trying to explain that, you know, we're wet. And as soon as you, any movement in it.
I got the large
automatically
type
water,
version,
you
I
got no
guess.
Strength at all.
Yep.
So, Dean,
Visually impaired.
Yeah.
so today I got an email from
So we have the
a
ECI
gentleman named Joseph
contribution, it was. Yeah, we did
Driscoll the fourth. So I replied
we're
to
just
it.
up, I did a lot
He's
of
an attorney, and I
steel
said,
tower foundation.
now I know a Joe
9-foot
Driscoll,
diameter,
and he lives up the weirs. He said, that would be my dad. I said, will he be number 3?
Because we
said,
poured
"Yep."
third, set the cage. You know,
So
poured another
he's
third,
he's
set
doing
the-
our hearing on Monday.
By the time we
Okay.
got there.
I
when
thought it was
started
gonna be
set,
Laura,
yeah,
but-
You know, so you had retarded badly.
We used to use a lot of retarder down in Georgia.
Yeah.
Because we poured it, it would be so damn.
Yeah.
in the right place.
Yeah, we used to come back, sometimes
Okay.
they'd come back the next day and actually.
Okay,
finish.
so 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
5. We have a
retarded.
quorum present, don't we?
And it-
Yep,
that's
Five.
concrete, there's so
Five is
much.
it.
And then anybody else that comes in.
Not sure.
Mike's probably working and will be in
Oh, yeah.
late. Did anybody hear from Charlie?
Last Thing that I saw, they were putting.
We have
shredded
not, I know he
soda
came in, got his
bottles,
package,
plastic
so.
bottles
Oh, okay.
in it, and
He might be
using
zooming in
making
then.
Flexible sheets.
Do you have anybody on Zoom right now?
I've got a whole bunch of the public. I have Counselor Chin.
Okay. Counselor Cheney, yeah, okay. All right. Well, you guys ready? 6:32 PM, we'll call this meeting of the Laconia Planning Board to order. We're December 7th. The meeting is being held in person. For those of you who are here, I will state the obvious. In conformance with 90 New Hampshire RSA 91A, a quorum of the board's members is physically present here in the meeting room so that we may start the meeting, conduct business. The public can choose to attend and participate in person or by Zoom. If something occurs that disables access to Zoom, the meeting will continue regardless. Members of the public or board members using Zoom will have no recourse, except they could go to YouTube and watch us live, I think, right?
Yes.
Choosing to use Zoom is done at the individual's risk. Using Zoom requires the use of an enabled device. If you are trying to reach us via Zoom, the webinar ID is 842-8046-7848. I guess that puts you in the waiting room and Rob will let you in, our Sergeant at Arms over there. If you wish to listen only, you may call 1-646-558-8656. or 301-715-8592. And you use this option only allows you to listen to the meeting. You would have no opportunity to participate. If you use Zoom, you'll be able to. To simply view the meeting, YouTube has us. We have our own YouTube channel, the City of Laconia, and it's www.youtube.com/Laconia NH, all one word. And when we do the roll call, any members that are using Zoom must identify their location and state if anyone's in the room with them in accordance with RSA 91A. Due to technical difficulties, we have temporarily suspended live transmission of city meetings on channel 26, the community service channel. There are incompatibilities between the Zoom virtual meeting platform and the Atlantic broadband platform. Live transmissions of city council on channel 26 will resume when full in-person meetings resume, which I think they have already done, have they not? Anyway, could we have a call of the roll, please?
Kirk Fiati,
Present.
Charlie Sinclair,
Here.
Rich McNeil,
Present.
Brett Vellavo,
Present.
Scott McWilliam,
Present.
Stacy Susie,
Here and alone.
Bruce Cheney,
Bruce? Turn your mute button off. Well, he is allegedly there and he'll,
Renette.
and I'm present, actually, not alone. We also have Kalina Graham, Dean Trefethan, our planning director, and Rob Moore, who's our sergeant at arms for the Zoom waiting room. Anyway, did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from last meeting, last month? All right, any suggestions as to changes, amendments thereto? Sensing none, I'll declare the minutes accepted. We have several extension requests pending. We usually put them to the front of the hearing because it draws the public in. We're all about getting those likes on Facebook. So we'll start with Cedar Lodge, I guess. It's PL 2020-0085SP and 0086SU, 375 Endicott Street North. 41 Skipper's Court is a catchy name, and 144 to 252.3. Is that what that says? Cedar Lodge. Extension request for the proposal for site improvements on part of the docket and a boundary line adjustment. Okay, so but they had a site plan approval and a boundary line adjustment, and do they really need to get an extension on the boundary line? Well, whatever.
Yes, they do.
Is the applicant here? Who's here for Cedar Lodge?
Hi, this is Brian Pratt from Fuss and O'Neill. I'll be representing Cedar Lodge today.
Hi, Brian. You may proceed.
Great. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. We're actually on the agenda later for some site plan amendments, but we also are requesting an extension on the original site plan approval. Just the reason is, you know, construction's taken longer than expected for a number of reasons. They have started construction, but the, you know, supply chain delays, COVID, just construction expenses. There's been just a number of reasons why the construction's been delayed. So we're requesting an extension on that.
So would the delay change in any way your ability to comply with the conditions of the approval?
Nope.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? What is the pleasure of the board? I put it to you.
I'll make a motion to accept or to approve the extension PL 2020-0085SP, 0086SU, 375 Endicott Street North and 41 Skipper's Court.
There's a motion by the chief. Is there a second? There's a second by Charlie St. Clair. Any discussion on the motion? Sensing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Bruce Cheney,
We'll keep trying.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Brickyard,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Belleville,
Yes.
Scott McWilliams,
Yes.
Yes, motion passes unanimously. Good luck, and may the cost of building materials fall rapidly. in the
Thank you very
next
much.
Couple of months. I bet that's a source of a lot of the construction delays right now. At Home Depot, there were like empty pallets. I mean, just nothing. Okay, PL 2020-0087 SP and 0076 CUP. 340 Court Street, extension request to the proposal to either add 3,000 square foot building along with paving, parking, and stormwater treatment, or just parking with associated paving and stormwater treatment. Oh, I remember this one, okay. Is the applicant here or online? Oh, he's here, live and in person.
Right.
Could you state your name for the record, please, sir, and tell us why you want this extension?
My name is Stephen Weeks, manager of S&P Court Street LLC. Well, we don't have a prospect for it, so naturally I want it extended, so it makes it more saleable.
Okay, I thought that when you were here last about this, that there had been some interest, but
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a tenant who has an option to buy.
yeah.
But, you know, options don't necessarily get exercised.
Will the delay in any way affect your ability to comply with the conditions of your original approval?
No.
No? Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant on this one?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Stacy Susie is recognized.
yes, I was just looking at the 10 years. Is that typical, or I've never seen such a lengthy extension?
10 years?
That's what it says on the application.
They can ask, but they shall not receive.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you can only get them at a year at a
Yeah,
time.
1 year, sorry.
And Fred
Can't get a
Klaus-
waiver on that?
Huh?
Can't get a waiver on that?
No, you asked for 10 years. That was clever.
Sure,
I
the
didn't
waiver
catch
is
that.
9 months.
See, Stacy's job is to read all the stuff the chair doesn't get. That's why she's vice chair. So, yeah, you have to keep coming back every year. I think Fred Clausen did it for
Nothing
about
really
25.
changed in the 17 years before when it was approved before. So now I gotta come in every single year and pay the fee and all that.
Maybe next year we'll have eggnog or something, Steve. I'm sorry. What is the pleasure of the board? Shall we send this man away without eggnog? May we have roll call? Oh, we need a motion, right?
I'll make a motion that we approve the extension of PL 20200087 SP and 0076 CUP for 340 Court Street.
A motion by Mr. Belleville. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's a second, Mr. McNeil. Any discussion on the motion? Sensing none, may we now please have a roll call?
Stacy Susie,
Yes, for 1 year.
Yeah.
Right.
Brickyard,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Here, yes, sorry. I was thinking about Bruce.
gone. Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Belleville,
Yes.
Scott McWilliams,
I'm sorry, does the motion include a 1 year?
1 year.
Yes, just for 1 year. That's all we can do. Yes,
Yes.
yes. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. We'll see you next year.
Hopefully not. Hopefully the next owner sees you.
Well, yeah, be nice. It's a
Don't go
nice
too far.
I was gonna say.
Location, location, locations, you know. All right.
Don't sit down.
Catch you,
Hang
Rob.
on a second. Hang on.
Yep, wait, 348 Court Street looks mighty close to that. That one says too. Yeah, PL 2020-0088 SP and 0076 CUP, 348 Court Street, extension request to extend the approved proposal to add a connecting driveway to a budding lot along with paving, parking, and stormwater treatment. And you're here for a likewise 1-year extension on that one.
If it has to be, yeah.
But it has been determined that that is the limit of our authority. We can consult with council, but I think we probably good on that. Any questions on 348 Court Street? All right, sensing none, would anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the extension for PL 2020-0088 SP and 0076 CUP for 348 Court Street with the 1 year.
Motion by Chief Biati. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bellevue. Is there any discussion on the motion? Sensing none, we'll call the question. Would you, Ms. Graham, please call the roll?
Bruce Cheney,
Keep trying.
Lisa Susie,
Yes.
Biati,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Belvin,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. So it's scaring me that Bruce isn't on there after what happened in city council. Should we send a welfare check? Okay. All right, send us a lifeline. Let us know you're still with us. Proof of life. Let's see. Continued public hearings, et cetera. PL 2021-0128 SP and 0129 SU and 0140 CUP. Steep slope. It's 143 Endicott Street North. Proposal to construct 48 townhouse style units in a clubhouse with entrances off Endicott and Tower, along with associated drainage, grading, landscaping, and lighting. And before I forget, is this the one we received an email letter on? Okay. Somebody find that, please. While I'm doing this. Oh, we got it in the packet. Okay. There's two. All right. Anyway, so,
Is it required to take it off the table, Mr. Chairman?
yeah, we probably do. That's right, because we tabled it. Would anyone care to make a motion to take this matter off the table?
Make a motion, to take it off table.
Second,
Second.
the motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Oh, was that another one?
Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Lisa Susie,
Yes.
Bruce Cheney, Kirk Biati,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett
Yes.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. The motion carries. You are our parliamentarian for the night. Rob's going to be the sergeant at arms,
Yeah, he's the sergeant.
but you're the parliamentarian. So you may proceed.
Thank you.
Attorney
Well, this
Julia.
is a very exciting project, as you understood last time. We certainly appreciate your patience being here into the wee hours of 11:15 last time we were here. But this is a very exciting project at the residences at 143 Endicott Street. We heard what the board and the butters had to say. We've made some changes. We have, this is being proposed by the Maggiore companies. Paul and Matt are here. We have our traffic expert, Steve Pernaw, that's known to the board, and of course, John Roque. John's gonna come up and summarize what we understood to be the board's concerns and describe how we resolve them. And then Steve is available to answer any questions the board has regarding any specific traffic issue. And then Matt's going to discuss the abutter outreach, which this company has done an unbelievable job reaching out to the abutters, letting them know what's going on and trying to address their concerns. So hopefully getting you out of here a little earlier by a lot this evening. I'm going to ask John to come right up and start with his part of the presentation.
Thank you, Phil. Good evening, Mr. Roque.
Good evening.
What have you to say?
Let's make sure you,
It's not working.
That one's not working.
oh, hold on.
She's on it.
I may have to, oh,
Including
it's like a Vulcan symbol.
look at that in color and everything, John.
Yep.
Very nice. Even my cataracted eyes can make it out.
Okay. So like Phil said, we're here for our continued public hearing from last month. Since last month, we've been working with staff on all the city comments. We had our second TRC actually the morning right after our last meeting. And we basically have all of our city comments, like with waterworks and DPW and everything basically resolved at this point. And all those comments are incorporated into the plan that's before you this evening. We've also been approved by the Franklin wastewater treatment plant. It's basically like a two-part process. You go to Franklin first, you get approved, and then it goes down to Concord, and
Yep.
then they start reviewing it. So Franklin has already signed off on it, and it's in Concord right now. The alteration of terrain permit, I checked, they're reviewing applications that were accepted as complete on October 20th, and ours was accepted as complete on October 24th. So we should we should have our review
Yep.
shortly on that.
Yep.
One of the other things that it plays into the traffic, but we've already received our driveway permit from the state of New Hampshire DOT also for the entrance onto Endicott Street.
Which has been a lot of.
Yep.
And what's-
So basically at the last meeting, the bulk of the comments were regarding Tower Street, and that is just extremely dangerous. And I mean, everybody kind of liked the project, but they didn't want anybody to get hurt on Tower Street. So what we did is we moved some buildings around. We basically shifted buildings down, created some room for hammerheads on the end, and added some retaining walls to make that happen, both on the upper side and the lower side. But we basically are going to block off the upper entrance altogether. It's going to be just a gated access with an Ox blocks gate
For the fire department.
for the fire department to be able to exit or enter, whichever they want. And then the lower one is going to have signage that does not allow people to go out onto Tower Street, but we're actually leaving it as ability to come in that entrance. So if somebody's coming down Tower Street, they'll be able to come in, but nobody can go out. And we created the hammerhead and it's going to come down to a traffic enforcement sort of thing to make sure people are not just going out regardless of the signage. But we will have cameras. I mean, it'll be pretty well maintained, and we're going to leave it open for people to come in that way.
Right.
What we did along Endicott Street is we actually added a second lane. I can zoom in on it so everybody can see that a little better, what we did. If I can pan over to it.
So there's a right-hand exit and a left-hand.
Yep.
exit.
Yeah, if you can see that,
Yep.
we did a right and a left turn lane.
Little island there. Yep.
And even though it seems like a short area, there's actually room for 2 cars to stack back to back in each lane. So basically 4 cars can be sitting there, and then there's plenty of stacking within the site to get in and out.
And the
That's-
state of New Hampshire has approved this driveway permit in that configuration.
I have a question, or should I wait?
Why don't you wait until they're done and
And we do have Mr. Purnall here to answer any specific technical
Yep.
questions.
But yeah, like I said, we basically completed all the comments from TRC staff. We're just about done with we'll be done with our sewer extension permit. The drainage is being reviewed by third-party review with City of Laconia and the alteration of terrain. So we're actually in pretty good shape with where we're at with the project right now. So,
all right. Charlie, is your question for Mr. Roki?
I do.
yes.
So the modification with the little island there, that's not on Route 3, that's in your property.
Yes, that's just within our property.
So
Yes.
when you're talking about stacking cars, you're talking about cars waiting to get out?
Yes. we're making room and we added the second turn lane. So if there is any issue trying to go in and out, they have extra room and
That's on your property. not on
Yes.
Route 3.
correct.
So, and I realize this is not your guys' thing, this is a DOT thing, so that's who my argument is with, is a DOT, that I don't think that's a safe situation, and I realize all the figures and studies prove me wrong, supposedly, but I just go by on what I observe there all the time, especially in the busy time of the year, and I fear for potentially rear end accidents. The people having to stop short to wait for somebody to make a left turn into, that's my concern. And when I brought it up to DOT over there in Guilford, the response I got was, well, we can look at that and make changes later on if that becomes a problem. Which I think is ridiculous, but, and that's not on these guys, that's on DOT. And I understand that,
Right.
but quite frankly, I think it's really unwise.
And if my image of it is correct, when they're talking about a lane for those cars that wish to turn left and a lane for those cars that wish to turn right, right? I mean, it's a busy.
No, I'm talking about, because
Talking about
going
Route
in is
3.
no problem.
Right,
The backup is going to be when you're coming down the hill,
yeah,
you want to make a left turn into that property, you're going to have to stop.
right,
And that's a lot of traffic on a hill,
right.
And the road is, quite frankly, wide enough now that all they would have to do is restripe, because they have full breakdown lanes on both sides of that road for a very short distance.
So your point is that the right of way, the paved road is wide enough for a center turn lane.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that's not on the
That is
developer.
not exactly on them at all. It's on DOT, and I understand that, but I would feel amiss not, again, bringing that out.
I'm glad that you brought that to the public's attention, Mr. Roki.
I actually did discuss that with DOT when they were looking at it to issue the permit. They said that it is wide enough for what they basically set it up for when they did the widening of it, was that there's you can bypass, like you can do a bypass. If somebody's sitting in the lane, there's room for another car to go basically bypass. And they said that they don't need to they don't need to stripe that necessarily. Like they don't need to actually make it an official turn lane. But going both ways, there's room for people to do the bypass, and they don't want to change the striping on.
Well, the center lane is safer than that option, though. You know,
Yes,
then your intention is well known to all drivers.
Yep.
And sometimes when you have to go around behind somebody, you can't see
I know.
oncoming traffic.
And
But-
if I may also say.
You
when-
may,
When you go around, you're crossing a solid white line.
right?
And there are some members of law enforcement that get a little dicey about that.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, so,
Yep.
you know. Thank you.
There'll be follow-up, I guess. Yes, Scott.
Mr. Roki,
Yes.
a couple of questions about the Tower Street entrance / exits.
Yep.
Can you highlight that again?
Yep.
Were you saying would be a,
So
Is it
the
only
so
or
the
entrance?
upper entrance right here, that is, you can see my mouse, right?
no?
Well,
The
there's,
lower one on the screen
Okay,
is
So
uphill.
this one, this entrance.
yes,
right.
okay,
Okay,
thank you.
So that entrance is gonna have a gate with the Knox blocks on it. That nobody will be able to regularly go in or out that entrance. That one's
Except the
basically
fire
completely sealed off. And
Okay.
if you come up over the hill and you're like physically out on the site,
Mhm.
that one is kind of close, like when you come over the hill, it's kind of right there. So that one's completely blocked off. Unless there's a reason for the fire department or, somebody gets stuck and they need to open the gate for somebody to get out or whatever.
Okay,
The second one, the lower entrance, we actually have a full, like a turnaround area for people to, if they come down to these units and they are not going to go out, they're not supposed to go out onto Tower Street. What we're doing is a no outlet, and basically it's a do not enter sign. Steve Purdock and. Is that the correct? No. Steve has the
Nice-
correct
Nice
terminology.
artists rendering in,
But
Maybe,
so nobody can go out. They're supposed to come in, use a hammerhead turnaround if they're kind of stuck at the end.
Mhm.
And but cars will be able to come down the hill and turn into the site.
So-
come up the hill.
or come up at. or come
Okay,
up to
so
say
they will
enter.
be able to enter
Enter
from
or
Tower Street,
enter from Tower Street only. Yeah.
but you're discouraging exiting from
Yeah,
that.
because what happens is when you're actually moving on Tower Street, whether you're coming up the hill or coming down the hill, you're in motion and you make the turn and you're off the street immediately.
Mhm.
The issue was if you're sitting stationary to pull out onto Tower Street, it takes time to get moving and make the turn and get across the lane of traffic, or even if you're turning and going downhill, you're stationary and you're turning and you're trying to get moving.
The sight line's pretty
Yep.
short.
Yep. So that's the way we handled that. But basically we made provisions so that nobody gets stuck down on the end. They
Right,
have a
right.
way of turning around. And these
Yeah.
hammerheads are not big enough for a fire truck to turn around. And that's why the fire trucks can go out onto Tower Street no matter what. But basically, like any sort of moving van or, a big U-Haul or whatever, will be able to make a turnaround at the end of the street.
Okay.
Or UPS or, FedEx, stuff like that. They'll be able to make turns in the
I
hammerhead.
see. I had one other question. There was some discussion at the last meeting about a pedestrian walk across Route 3. I noticed in the plans
Yeah,
that you were going to, the developers are going to contribute
Yes.
to that. Can you point out where that crosswalk?
It doesn't actually show up on this. It's actually, I believe it's up more by Cumberland Farms, right? So where it goes across there.
It's further up the hill.
Oh,
I
okay.
asked Krista if we could present something to you guys, and the DPW doesn't have it firmed up enough. She's like, I don't want
Okay.
to put
So it's
anything
not
out
right
there.
across from the developments
No.
further down by Cumberland Farms?
Yep. But it's all, the sidewalk on Endicott Street goes all the way up and everything kind of interconnects.
Right,
So-
that would seem to be
Yep.
an appropriate place to put it.
I did want to actually show you guys that, but Krista doesn't have it firmed up enough
Okay.
on DPW's end.
Okay,
But we're going to contribute to it. It's something that we're committed to. So.
Right. Thank you.
Are there any specific technical questions that either John or Steve Pernock could answer? And if not,
I just have a quick question. The hammerheads, I'm assuming that there's going to be signage there, no parking, because that looks like an awesome spot for
The-
people visiting those end units to park it. And then they're not a turnaround anymore.
Yes, we can definitely add that. We can definitely add signage onto that. Yes.
Yeah, that would be reasonable.
And the same thing goes with snow removal. They'll have to be
Yep.
cleaned right to the,
Oh, yes. No, by doing what we're doing, those will be part of the regular plowing program. And we did add all the snow storage areas. I mean, we have a ton of area for snow storage within the site. And on the offhand chance we have to remove anything we could.
Okay, that's what we were gonna ask.
there's
Any-
no more questions on traffic and parking. I'm going to ask Matt to speak about a better outreach. I've always been talking to the.
You have the floor, Attorney Brouillard.
Evening, folks. Matthew Maggiore for the record. So between last meeting and now, we took everyone's input regarding the safety concerns on Tower very seriously. And we believe we made some good strides toward addressing those concerns. Because obviously we don't live there every day. They see what's happening there and they know that there are issues. So we didn't want to contribute to those issues. So we made those changes that John just outlined. And we've since followed up with the abutters and asked if there were any other questions or concerns. And actually we received a couple of emails from some of the folks that we've been communicating directly with, basically stating that exactly we did what we said we would do. We would address these issues, and they seem to be pleased with what we've done. So we're again appreciative of your time this evening. Any further questions regarding that, we're happy to answer. But we're pleased with where things are now and hope you folks are as well.
And we're requesting final conditional.
Right. Yes. Mr. St. Cyr.
I would just like to say that this is a perfect example of something I feel we don't see enough of at this table, of a developer coming in and instead of saying, we're going to do it because we can, but actually going out and listening and working with the neighbors that are directly affected by your very large development. And it's just such a, for me, and I'm sure for others, it's just such a breath of fresh air. And I commend you guys for doing that. And I thank you for doing it. And I hope maybe from this point on, others will say, gee, what foresight to actually go and work with the neighbors and listen to their concerns, instead of saying, which I've heard at this table, we're doing this because they're your rules and we can do it. So I just want to say that I can't thank you guys enough, and I look forward to seeing this all come to fruition. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those words. Thank you.
I'm sure many of us agree with
The same way.
Mr. St. Cyr's assessment. For the record, we do have two emails to Matt that were provided to us. One was from Laura Donati and the other is from Porky.
I just wanted to
Hey.
hear you say
Hey,
that.
we all know a part.
Okay, just saying. And they both basically said the same thing, that they were pleased that the developer took the time to engage with the abutters and not just be satisfied to give them the notice, because there's always a million questions that people have. So again, I guess I would join in the former Representative St. Cyrs representations on that.
Claire.
St. Clair. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Mike,
I'm not putting up.
we
All
know
right.
each other for a long time.
All right, no more questions for the applicant?
I just have one.
Mr.
I have one
Chair?
question.
Sure.
Did
Go
it come
ahead.
up at TRC or the other day about street naming the two separate roads in there?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think,
We
Ms.
actually have the approval on that? I don't know.
We haven't heard anything official, but.
I don't honestly care what the names are, whatever they're working out with the correct naming. I just want to make sure that was, I couldn't remember if that was.
And the city will
Said or
change
not.
We
it.
submitted our final two names and asked DPW's input on
Yep.
how the numbering is gonna work
Yep.
for the bylaws you have in town for numbering and proximity to station to station.
Yep, no, perfect. Thank you.
I think there was another, they want to change it 10 years.
Yes, I think Ms. Susie has one.
Yes, Matt, I also really wanted to thank you for all the work and effort that you did, because that meeting last month definitely would have gone till 1 a.m. if you had not. So that was just wonderful that you did all that work. The only thing that I am concerned about, because under number 3, Department of Public Works conditions, I was reading that it says that they may not approve it. And I just want to make sure that the public knows that if that crosswalk doesn't get put into place, I'm not sure if there was a chance of it not being approved, but I hate for that to be a backlash against you guys when it's obvious that you're willing to help and work on it.
To contribute financially to it, but it's a sort of a off-site improvement, almost a quarter of a mile away. So, well,
Yeah, what she's saying in there, or what they're saying in there is, on the offhand chance that NHDOT doesn't approve it, but the city of Laconia is actually spearheading that whole thing. That's something that's completely independent of this project.
Right. I just didn't want you guys to get blamed if
Oh, no,
this
no.
cannot happen.
Yeah, hopefully not. I mean,
Um,
no, we're ready and willing.
on our end, if city of Laconia and DPW work it out, or NHDOT work it out, we're gonna contribute our part.
And
okay, so it's definitely just a maybe that can happen.
Our contribution is set in stone, and if it didn't get completed for whatever reason, obviously nothing to do with us, we would hope that that money will be refunded to us.
Our dollars go into escrow. When we but before we get a building permit, our contribution dollars go into an escrow account. And I believe the way that it's worded, it is not, doesn't come to fruition in 2 years, Matt?
2 years.
2 years, that those dollars be returned to us.
Yep.
it's only fair.
And if it was 2 years and a month, obviously we're reasonable folks too. We like to see it happen too. We think it would be benefit to the project and to the community. So we'd like to see it happen also.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, I think at this point then we'll open the public hearing. It's 7:08 p.m. Declare the public hearing open on this application. And there any members of the public here or butters that wish to be heard? Do we have one online? Excuse me. Hello?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, could you identify yourself for the record, please?
This is Porky.
Hey, Porky.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to reiterate again quickly verbally that these guys, Maggiore crew, Matt and his gang were outstanding, just like Charlie said, in relation to dealing with, the crew of abutters on Tower Street. And to also, and I think I said it last month, but it probably didn't, have much weight or whatever. We weren't hammering Maggiore. We were kind of involved because of what we believe as residents, the condition of Tower Street, I don't want to reiterate, or repeat all that stuff we already talked about, but, the condition of it. And we raised those last month on, to you guys, the planning board. And I understand that you probably don't have any say so in the condition of the catch basins and the street itself caving in and all that kind of stuff. It's more a DPW issue, I imagine. But and I don't think they're hearing us regarding our concerns about Tower Street. And again, nothing to do with, the development being done by Maggiore. So maybe some other date down the road, we'll get together as a group on Tower to, send a letter to the city manager or the DPW, just, pointing out again that maybe it needs to be looked at a little closer. I know there was money supposed to be spent a few years ago, and West didn't, it couldn't fund it again into the, up to this point. So that may be a future endeavor on our part. So again, thank you guys. We appreciated everything you did.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Matt, thank you very much for everything you did on it.
Thank you.
That was Mrs. Perky.
Yes, it was.
Mrs. Porky.
My pig.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, that's all, folks. I couldn't not do that. All right. Any other members of the public online or here that would like to be heard regarding this development? Only once? Twice? All right, we'll close the public hearing at 7:11. Staff report, please.
Yes, we are recommending approval. We have a list of criteria. I do want to address the crosswalk issue just a little bit. This is something that our Department of Public Works has been working with New Hampshire DOT on for more than a year. It's probably closer to 2 years. There has been various discussions with DOT about where they would approve to have the crosswalk. So that's what's kind of up in the air right now. What makes the most sense? They agree that there needs to be one in that area. That is not the issue. The issue is exactly where it should be. So they're still working on that. And this is going to be one of those kinds of crosswalks that have the short bollards with the flashing yellow lights on it that will be activated by the pedestrians on it with a push button type situation. To address some of the concerns in the planning department conditions, as we have mentioned here in number 2C, the homeowners association has to maintain all of the drainage features. And then these are private streets and sidewalks, which the HOA will be maintaining. And we want to review the condominium documents before they are recorded. The things that we look at in the condominium documents are not things like 90% of the language in most condominium documents are talking about common space and limited common space, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and the rules and regulations of the common. We're not interested in any of that stuff because that's up to the individual developers and homeowners to do that. What we're interested in is seeing language in the condominium documents that support the two things that I just said, that they're going to maintain the drainage features and that the future homeowners are aware that that's one of the things they're going to need to do, and that the streets are private and you're going to need to maintain them forever because they're, you never say never, but I don't think the city's ever going to accept any of these streets. And then, of course, they still have a few things pending. The third-party review of the sewer, the state sewer approval and alteration of train, et cetera, et cetera. All those permits need to be approved and in line before construction will start. I'm not anticipating there being any issues on any of those. So we have a series of recommended conditions for approval, but we wholeheartedly support the approval of this application. And I also want to echo that it has been a very good working relationship with the developer over the course of the past few months. You know, we've been talking with them since the middle of the summer, and they've been very cordial, very easy to work with, and very, very responsive.
Thank you. That's good to hear. Are there any questions for Director Trefethen?
Question?
Yes.
A couple questions, actually. Chief, are you satisfied that the fire department will have adequate access to the development?
Yes. Yep.
I just didn't want
us to have to turn around to come out, and that's been taken care of. So.
Director Dean, I have a couple questions. I wish Councilman Cheney was here because I was getting during the last meeting, many of the concerns, as was pointed out, had to do with the condition of Tower Street, the catch basins, the hazards associated with that, pedestrian traffic, et cetera, which seemed to be outside of the scope of the development, but was a legitimate concern. I was just wondering and I don't know if any of the abutters are still listening, but, you know, can those folks be encouraged to approach council or DPW to see what can be done about?
Absolutely. I mean, the appropriate place for the condition of the road is to approach the city council and you know, start with the the Ward 1 councilor. I mean, we have obviously the city council establishes a budget for road maintenance. It's never enough money for all the maintenance we need to do in the street, but certainly encouragement from people living on individual streets sometimes gets the priorities bumped up. So it certainly is something worth pursuing.
And the residents, I'm sure, are aware of how to pursue that avenue.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dean? Okay. What is the pleasure of the board? Charlie.
I would love to make a motion to approve PL 2021-0128 SP 0129 SU 0140 CUP 143 Endicott Street North with all the conditions put forth by the planning department.
Yep.
For approval.
Yep, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Mr. Bellowell? Any further discussion?
I left one thing out. I want to say this again too. This was not a matter of this developer just turning a switch or a key to make these changes. I'm no expert in this, but I'm suspecting that this cost the developer some money.
Yeah.
Probably some good money to make these changes to reach out again and get and work with their neighbors. So I just want to point that out because again, it's just such a breath of fresh air. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I can relate to that on a personal level. Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? What would the board like to do with this? Oh, we have a motion and a second. So now we need a roll call.
Bruce Genie,
Don't laugh at me. Bruce,
Bruce Genie,
you keep trying.
Stacy Susie,
A grateful yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Charlie Sinclair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Belleville,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Unanimous approval. Thank you, gentlemen. You did a wonderful job. Good luck. Can't wait to
Thanks,
see it.
folks. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good luck.
Look forward to shaking your hands. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
We'll move along to PL 2021-0135 SP. It's the Bank of New Hampshire. We need a motion to accept the application. Is the application ready for acceptance, Mr. Trefethan?
Yes, it is.
All right. Would someone care to make a motion to accept this application?
I'll make a motion that we accept the application for PL 2021-0135 SP for 62 Pleasant Street.
Motion by Mr. Belleville. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kirk Beatty. Any discussion? Take care. Good luck, Matt. Ms. Graham, may we please have another roll call?
Brett Bell,
Yes.
Cheney,
Easy for you to say.
Bruce Cheney, Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Kirk Beatty.
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Belleville,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam.
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Can you actually see Bruce on the Zoom, but you can't hear him?
He's having trouble. I texted him. He's having trouble getting his phone to work, unmuting it. So he's having troubles with the phone, but he is watching,
All right, okay.
listening. So hopefully he can get back on it. So
He is shaking his head.
Well, I've been in that position, so I know what that's like. All right, the application has been accepted. Who is here representing the applicant? Oh, we have someone online.
Yes, we do. Hey, how's it going? My name is Greg DeBona with Bowler.
Hang on one second. You sound really muffled and not quite loud enough.
Try one more time. How's that sound?
That's better. Yeah, I think you need to be a little closer to the mic. That's one of the limitations of Zoom is they have a lot of compression to eliminate noise.
No problem. I can definitely speak up.
Well, good evening. What's your name and what's your game?
Yes, my name is Greg DeBona. I'm with Bowler Engineering. We're the civil engineer on the application and prepared the site drawings submitted for review.
Okay.
And what I'd like to do is, let's see if I can share my screen and I'll walk you through the application.
Okay. Can we eliminate the split screen on ours? So that it's just him. Our crack television crew is working on this.
Okay, no problem. I can give it a minute.
Thank you. So what are we looking at, sir?
Yeah, so we are the Bank of America, I'm sorry, the Bank of New Hampshire, located right here at 62 Pleasant Street. I have the aerial image up right now. Hopefully everybody's seeing the screen.
Yep.
And really, we're going to be talking about just some proposed improvements tonight to the current facility. Most of the improvements relate to removing the remote drive-up ATM and making those services directly adjacent and attached to the building. So if I zoom right into the site, I'll just identify a couple key components here. This is where the drive-through bank services are today. There's 3 lanes. They are separated. They have a separate building, about 600 square foot building. It's separated from the one-way traffic circulation and the parking that's around Bank of New Hampshire. Currently today, the site has about 66 parking spaces at it. And, you know, you really have access on really all sides of the building. And what we're looking to do is kind of square off the building's dimensions. We're reconfiguring some ADA parking and adjusting it so that we remove the remote drive-through canopy feature and attach it off to the building. And so for that, I'll pull up our site plan. And this is the plan that's was submitted as part of the set. if everybody's seeing my screen, you'll see that the main lot that comes in off of Pleasant and is also available off of Beacon Street. There's some reconfiguration of the parking. And what it does is it actually creates a more designated one-way circulation to enter into the bank canopy area. And now we have the 4 lanes that are underneath this canopy. And the rest of the circulation around the site, mainly through one-way circulation, is preserved like it is today. The parking field on the east pretty much stays exactly the same, except that we've proposed a couple ADA accessible parking spaces. And we have some additional parking that is now accessible off the one-way access drive, really where the old canopy spots used to be. In this current layout, we actually add 1 more parking space. Our net building square footage is slightly reduced because we no longer have the building associated with the remote teller services. We add about 5% of green space to the site. And in that green space, we're adding about 14 shade trees and over 1,000 shrubs and ground covers and perennials. The building itself also we're proposing a number of upgrades to the overall appearance. And we do have our architect on the line here as well, and he can talk more about the improvements to the building, but really changing kind of the look and the character of the building so that it really blends better in with the rest of the buildings right here in the city. And it's really a nice look, as well as the upgrade to the overall site. All the parking areas and all the sidewalk are getting replaced and redone with new striping. So really a really nice upgrade to the existing facility. And we've received a few comments when we were here for the technical review meeting. We addressed all those comments. I don't believe we have any outstanding comments currently, and really are kind of presenting an as of right application.
Any questions for the applicant?
I guess the sequence, you're gonna remove the existing drive up in that building and then proceed with the new construction?
Yes, I think as far as the phasing goes, where the current ATM and the drive up canopy feature sits is about where these 2 parking spots are located. I think most of this operation is going to have to get decommissioned in order for us to build the canopy. So there will be a time where we have to look at the phasing of how this can operate, but we might be without any drive-through services while this is under construction.
So will vehicles exiting the 4 drive-through lanes, as they exit, will they be able to turn right or left?
That's correct.
Okay. Don't anticipate any issues there as it narrows?
No, we still have adequate width for 2-lane travel, and you are able to come out and still leave. This is the current access point today, as well as this access point today as well. So whether you're exiting directly onto Beacon or back to Pleasant, basically the same motion as what's there now.
Mm-hmm. As you have in Guilford and Plymouth, is the ATM lane going to be the far left lane closest to the building?
The lane closest to the teller window directly?
Yes. Like in Guilford, the ATM is actually closest to the building. It's the left-hand lane.
That's I'm not really sure exactly. I don't think we've called out exactly which lane is the drive-through. I'm not sure if Tom is able to chime in if he knows specifically which lane it is. I know we still have the accessibility of the 24-hour ATM inside the building, But I'm not sure which exact lane for the drive-through is the one for ATM services.
Well, they have a drive-through on another location nearby, but I didn't see it on this plan. I was wondering if they were thinking of adding an ATM. One night deposit, drive-in.
Yeah. It does look like it is the one closest to the building. So it will be the lane that's directly adjacent to the building side.
Hey, Greg, I'm on.
Oh, hey, Tom.
Sorry, I was having trouble coming across, but hi, this is Tom Chadina. I'm with DRL Architects, the architect for the proposed changes. And yes, as Greg says, the first lane would be the drive up. That would be service from the building.
Okay, so you're not adding a drive-up ATM to the Pleasant Street location.
Hi, this is Sydney from Bank of New Hampshire. Yes, we would have a drive-up ATM through the building wall, as we do in both of our Guilford locations, as well as a night deposit that you will be able to drive up to. That happens in lane 1.
And that would be just past the service window or before?
There is no service window in lane 1. The service windows are in lane 2 and 3.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you. Anybody else from the bank on the line that would like to say hi?
So this project includes a new facade on the building as well, is that right? It's not currently brick, is it? Red brick?
That's correct. So just if you'd like, I give you a quick, brief history. The original building was built in 1971, and then in 1986, roughly, there was an addition, second floor, third floor that was put on, and the current exterior renovation that included 2 stories of the ephes that you see today, as well as the atrium that's at the back. As Greg started, the one big piece of this is squaring off that entrance. That atrium space is somewhat antiquated and useless today. So that's going to be removed and the building squared off, more or less, and a new entrance that would remain there, a new enclosed fire-rated staircase to serve all levels, a new boardroom on the second floor, and a new employee break room on the third floor. We also propose to reface the existing facade, which is another big change that we're looking to do. It's the bank wishes to redefine the existing exterior aesthetics and bring it more in line and reflect their ideals of being grounded in traditional values with while providing forward-thinking solutions. And we feel that we've tried to capture that on the exterior. The ephes will be clad over with a more traditional brick with some corbelling and soldier coursing details. We're going to restore, or I should say, maintain and restore the existing granite that is along the Pleasant Street side as well as the east end. And we'd like to reflect that as well in the 2 vertical towers that you see on each side, and recreate those, as well as another sort of operational change. If you flip back to the other one, Greg, that entrance there, which is currently an ATM, walk-up ATM, that'll actually become the retail branch primary entrance now. It'll go directly into the branch. And again, all of these entrances will be restored with a new canopy, and you can see at the very top, we'd like to cap the building with a more traditional cornice.
All right. Thank you. They're beautiful drawings.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, Mr. Belleville.
I just have a quick question. I see most of this, the changes and updates going on the outside, the facade of it. is this going to change the elevation at all of the building, or no, the roof line stays the same?
Yeah, we do not plan to raise the height of the building at all.
Okay.
So did you just say that where the ATM lobby is now will be an entrance for retail banking?
Correct. If you're familiar with the branch, right now that's that side is the back of where the tellers are.
Yep.
And this project includes an interior renovation of the branch space, which changes that. They're going to a more open pod style service. So you'll be able to enter from that side.
Will you still have the Pleasant Street entrance and the entrance
Yes.
on the Beacon Street side as well?
The Pleasant Street entrance will remain as an entrance, although we're redefining it. The west end entrance that you're seeing now that Greg is circling, that'll also still remain. It'll probably be more of a executive or other services, loan services type entrance. You will still be able to get to the
That's where the
branch.
elevator is to the upper floors too. right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll still be open the same as it is now to the branch. We just think it's a better use of the overall parking for customers to be able to access from the east end also.
And one other question is that would be the northwest corner. Is that am I looking at a cantilevered second floor?
Yes, southwest. That's off of the employee/community space. We want to offer a sort of an outdoor space off of that employees can and special functions can enjoy when the weather is appropriate.
Yep. All right. Yeah, there's a balcony. Is that a balcony too on that same side? On the third floor, the third level?
I thought that's what that's what I was describing.
Well, this is the architect speaking, right? As far as you're concerned, that's a balcony, right?
Right, yeah.
It's up to the owner to decide what they're going to do with it, so. Great, thank you for answering those questions.
Just one quick, will the
Sure,
bank
Mr.
maintain
McGuire.
operations during this project?
Yeah, typically we do. If we just jump back to, I think you had asked Greg earlier about the phasing. So we would actually, again, it's still early, but our initial thoughts are we would actually do the building work first to maintain the existing drive up and keep it away from the construction as they phase the exterior work and the interior work, and then shift the drive up over at the end of the construction.
That makes sense. Mr. St. Clair.
I'm gonna ask a question.
Of course you
Technical
are.
question. Should I recuse myself from this? Because I almost said the same thing the other said. The Bank of New Hampshire is a sponsor for Laconia Motorcycle Week. And I don't have any financial things with it, but they are a sponsor for the rally. So I'm asking you if I should recuse myself.
Unless you have some problem keeping your personal thoughts about them to yourself, I don't see there's a problem. You don't have a direct pecuniary interest, as the word goes.
I do not.
But
I just wanted to be clear on that.
if we're making full disclosure, I do have a pitifully small amount of money on deposit
I
with this
demand.
bank.
No. Okay, I just want to be clear. so
No, I
everybody's
get that.
okay with
Yeah, that was good of you to do that.
It just flashed in my mind, so thank you.
I don't think you need to recuse, but that's up to every member to decide. Okay, are there any other questions? Was that one?
Yes,
Yes, Stacy.
thank you. The image that I'm seeing right now, is this completely accurate? And the only reason I ask is Friday nights, I've driven by there. and I have counted sometimes 10 cars backed up through the drive-through. And I just wanted, like, for example, lane 2, is there going to be enough room for cars to line up without hitting into parking spaces?
Yeah, so I'll address that. So that is one of the perks, I think, of this new layout, not only having the 4 lanes, but you see how long this entry throat is? And it's almost
look
wide
lane
enough.
2.
Yeah, so as you mean, they do taper down, right? So
right,
when we're here, you're basically able to go about 3 cars wide as far back as we want. You wouldn't necessarily be able to do that all the way for lane 4 or the closest lane for the ATM. So, but you still have a large queue to be able to keep really all that circulation and queuing for all 3 of the drive-up lanes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you could tell me exactly how many cars could back up.
I haven't plotted them and counted them. I'd say roughly probably about 10 for each lane. So it's probably roughly about 30 cars worth of stacking here.
But that's only if they open up all the lanes, right?
That's correct. That's assuming if all lanes were open.
So, I think that the reason they've got the space to do that is they've eliminated the head-in parking on that side of the building.
Yeah.
So now they have, that's the drive-through banking lane now, and it's that means that the traffic could back up all the way to the corner of the building, actually, without affecting the flow. As long as there's somebody, as long as you're able to get out of the northern parking lot.
Yeah, which you still can. There's still 2-way movement to get out of this parking lot and come back up and get right back onto Pleasant.
If I could address the question of whether or not all lanes would be open, the way that the interior design is of the new building, each of those lanes would be open 100% of the time because they are through the tubing system, which comes to the middle of the teller station. So any teller that is available would then be able to assist the drive-through as opposed to only drive-through tellers being available.
Nice.
Well, that's an excellent feature for staffing purposes now, isn't it? Instead of having to have 2 or 3 tellers at the remote location, they'll be able to service walk-in lobby customers as well.
Correct.
Well, excellent.
And I just had one other thing that I just have to say, and I'm sure you guys have thought of this. The fact that vehicles are bigger now. I continue to hit certain drive-throughs, unfortunately, because they're too narrow to get through. But I'm just throwing that out there. I'm sure you guys have thought of that.
There are opticians that can handle that problem, I think.
No, it's
There's
too
this thing
small.
called depth perception, Stacy.
It's too narrow.
Can you do anything for our myopic friend here?
well, all I'll say is the interior dimension in terms of the striping in between is not the interior. The smallest part is 9.5, which is wider than a typical parking space. Typical parking spaces when you're out shopping is 9 feet. So if you can fit through a parking space, you can definitely fit through the drive-through lane.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I just had one other concern. I know it was noted somewhere, I think in the conditions about signage, to remind folks that you can only turn onto the one-way streets, so nobody's going the wrong way.
Yes.
There'll be signs.
And we did we had some notes to add additional right turn only signs at the access points, because I think there used to be one maybe here as you come to Pleasant, but it's no longer there. So we're replacing that sign. There are some signs here today, and we continue to add more signs about the no left turn.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Questions? Any other questions for them? Well, sensing none, why don't we open a public hearing at 7:43 PM? Are there any members of the public or abutters here that would like to address this application? Is there anyone on Zoom that's looking to?
There is not.
Okay. Anyone, absolutely anyone? Give you a second to try to connect. All right, well, then I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:45.26 and turn it over to Mr. Trefethan.
Yes, before I get to my staff recommendation, I do have a question for the applicant. We are calling for completion 1 year from today. Is that a long enough time frame, or do you think you need a longer time frame?
That is our goal. So if we can, assuming or without assuming it would be approved, but if approved and able to move into construction documents and design development, we would look to be able to hit the ground running as soon as the winter is over. All things considered, this should then allow us to be done by the end of the year.
Okay.
I'm only hesitant to say that because I'm sure you've seen all of the construction delays with the materials and availability and current chain of getting things. But we're confident we can get it done.
Given that, do you think June 7th of 23 is a nice, safe date?
Yeah, it's a much better duration, especially as we eventually look at phasing, because even if, say, the interior work is done in 22, maybe there's some site work that might wait until spring of 23 to finish. So if there's a way to put that in there to give us, say, an 18-month duration instead of 12, that's certainly better.
Okay, all right. So staff recommends approval with certain conditions, and I will amend our staff recommendation here to say completion would be June 7th of 2023. That's an 18-month period.
Okay.
There really is no unusual conditions here. They do need some, obviously, building permits and some other permits that need to be obtained, and they will do that. And I do want to point out that this is a significantly aesthetic improvement for the building. Recent discussions that we've had with Heritage Commission and our Historic District Commission. Unfortunately, this building is one of the buildings we use as an example of what we don't want. 50 years ago, it was, it is what it was. But in 2021 and what we're trying to do downtown, certainly the improvements being proposed are a significant improvement.
50 years ago, City Hall was there, I think.
Yes.
Are there any questions for the staff for Mr. Trefethan this evening? Okay. So he has suggested that modification gives them 18 months. I think that's reasonable. The board's concerns have all been addressed. So what is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve PL 2021-0135 SP 62 Pleasant Street with staff adjustments and recommendations.
Motion made by Chief Beatty. Is there a second?
Second.
Well, it was a tie. I'll go with Scott this time, Mr. McWilliam. All right, any discussion? All right, all those, roll call, please.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Rick Beatty,
Yes.
Charlie Sinclair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brad Bellevue,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Steve Burnett.
Yes. It passes unanimously. Good luck. It looks very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Probably won't have any trouble getting financing for the project. So PL 2021-0136 CUP. This is 39 Reagan Way. Proposal to construct 20 by 20 ledge packed parking area within the 50-foot wetland buffer. They're seeking a waiver for the delineation of the wetlands. We need a motion to accept this one first. Is the application in order and ready for acceptance?
Yes, it is.
All right, would anyone care to make the motion?
Motion to accept PL 2021-0136 CUP for 39 Reagan Way.
Motion by Chief Beatty. Is there a second? A second by Mr. Bellevue. Any discussion? We have a roll call, please.
Stacy Susie,
Yeah.
Kirk Beatty,
Yes.
Charlie Sinclair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam.
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. All right, the application has been duly accepted. And I guess we'll turn it over to the applicant. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much. So Anthony Bean Burpee, homeowner at 39 Reagan Way. My property is just over 3/4 of an acre, so I'm a land baron. But on my property is a retention pond from when Reagan Way is right off Elm Street. So the retention pond is part of my property, and I'm just looking to tear up a section 20 by 20 section of my front lawn and put in a ledge pack area so I can park 2 vehicles there off the roadway and keep them there for the winter. And so it just happens to abut the retention pond.
I see. I remember when that application, when that development was done, yeah. Any questions for the applicant?
So this ledge pack, as you're looking at your home, standing in the driveway, is it off to the left? Is that where the pond is?
That's correct, yes.
And it'll be right off the driveway there?
No.
No.
No, the driveway's at the front of the house.
Yes.
So if you look at, so it's front of the house and the pond is over here.
Yes.
So it's near the pond, so it's sets off from the driveway. So this whole process started with me reaching out to Mr. Anderson, Director Anderson, and asking for a driveway permit. He went down and looked at it, looked where I was going to put it, and then sent me to what was before the wetlands. Something I had to get approval, then come to the wetlands committee, and this is the third hoop I have to jump through.
Right.
So
Like they keep getting bigger
they
though
do.
every time.
They do, yeah.
They do.
They do.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Members of the board?
I got a question. The Concon had a note in here on 2B that should be edged to avoid future erosion from the ledge pack. And I see the quote from GMI to do that. Is that planned to be edged?
Yeah, so I reached out to the owner of GMI and asked him to, I think the other recommendation was to use a silk sock rather than a fence and to also edge it. And I've made that request of them, yes.
Okay.
Good question. Any other questions? Okay. Sensing none, why don't we open the public hearing, 7:52 PM. Are there any members of the public or abutters here that would like to be heard? Do we have anyone out in Zoom land?
There's nobody indicated on Zoom that they wish to speak for or against the application.
Thank you, Mr. Mora. So we'll close the public hearing at 7:52.3. How's that? Staff report.
Yeah, so this will be a two-part question for you. The first one is the granting the waiver for the wetland delineation, which we recommend that you do. This detention pond is very well defined. Everybody knows exactly where it is. So there's no need to delineate it for this minimal amount of work for this driveway expansion. So you would need to vote for the waiver first and then the approval for the CUP, and staff recommends approval of that as well.
What exactly is ledge pack?
It's a mixture of sand and
like crushed stone,
and sometimes they mix in some recycled pavement, those kinds of things. But it's a very stable. Once it's put in, they usually roll it. It's very stable. It's it's not like standard gravel.
It's
very
considered
stable.
to be a permeable surface,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Less grass to mow too.
That is true. That is true.
I'm sorry, I think you tried to clarify this. I'm still confused exactly.
Yeah, do you have a
The
picture? You want me to hold
placement
it?
of the 20 by 20 ledge pack.
Yeah, we do have an
Oh,
overhead
I don't have
picture.
that. Okay. Depiction. Get a closer look at that.
Oh, yeah.
You have it outlined right there?
Yep.
Okay. Is that the scale, Dean?
Pretty much.
Okay. Looks pretty
Let's
solid.
get the micrometer out.
Okay, and then the driveway is here, right?
Yep.
Oh, I see.
So I think the question is, how much is it actually into the wetland buffer?
Right.
It is probably entirely in the buffer
Oh, okay.
or pretty close to it.
Because of the proximity of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a 50-foot buffer, so.
okay.
Majority of the law is within the wetland buffer. Just so happens to be, but I wasn't a wetland buffer when it was originally designed, so it was a detention pond.
Right, okay. Any other questions? No questions. So
Waiver first.
we do a motion on the waiver, yes. Would anyone care to make a motion of the waiver of the wetlands delineation?
I'll make a motion to accept the waiver for wetland delineation for the 39 Regan Way.
Motion to approve, seconded by Mr. St. Clair. Is there any questions? Any further discussion? Sensing none, may we have a roll call, please, on the waiver?
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Bruce Stilla. Kirk Biatti,
Yes.
Charlie Sinclair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Belvin,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. All right. So you have a waiver.
Thank you.
Anything else the board would like to do for this gentleman?
Need to approve the CUP.
Right, I was gonna say, I'll make a motion to approve PL 2021-0136 CUP 39 Regan Way.
Motion made by Chief Beatty, second by Mr. St. Clair again. Any further discussion? Okay, may we have a roll call, please, Ms. Graham?
Yes.
Kirk Biatti,
Yes.
Charlie Sinclair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Belvin,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously, sir.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Take care.
Director Trefethan, do I need to reach out to Director Anderson regarding the highway?
Yeah,
permit?
you'll get a notice of action, but Kalina will reach out to him tomorrow, let him know.
Excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. All right, moving right along. PL 2020-0085 SP, amended, 375 Endicott Street North, Brickyard / Cedar Lodge. Proposal to amend the site plan to account for field changes uncovered during excavation, coordination with utilities and supply chain construction setbacks. Okay. We need a motion to accept the application first. Is the application in order and ready for acceptance?
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you, Mr. Trefethan. Does anyone want to make a motion to accept this application?
I'll make a motion to accept PL 2020-0085 SP.
A motion has been made by Chief Beatty. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Bellamo. Any discussion? Sensing none, may we please have a roll call, Ms. Graham?
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Kirk Biatti,
Yes.
Charlie Sinclair,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Brett Belvin,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Does anybody but me think the way Stacy says yeah is funny?
Yes.
Yes, we do. We do have an unofficial poll on that.
It's because I'm trying to hit the mute button fast enough so that we can get out at a relatively good time.
We can't hear you. You must have the mute button on. Okay,
Keep it up. You sound like a cheerleader.
yeah, exactly. All right, so we have accepted this and
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Before we get started. Why are we voting on an amendment to something we just extended for a year? Why didn't we just push off the extension, only do the extension for the CUP? Because once we pass the amendment, doesn't that extend the completion date? Is this Groundhog Day? Am I?
Yes, but if you were to deny the application, then the applicant would be in trouble. Because their former approval is about to expire if it hasn't already.
so what we're considering
if
tonight is
we-
the amendment?
If we would deny the amendment, then it reverts back to what we extended the original plan.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'll
And I mean,
explain.
and there are other parts of that plan that are not changing that would
Right.
still need to be carried out.
Okay.
All right, could we, you want to hear from the applicant? Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Hi, back again, Brian Pratt from Fuss and O'Neill representing Cedar Lodge. Thank you again for having me, and I will run through these changes fairly quickly because they're pretty minor. So about a year ago, we got approval for the Cedar Lodge to basically move the pool and move some of their courts. So they did a lot line adjustment with their butter, and the pool and their recreational facilities were located really far away from their building. So they did a land swap to get some land directly next to the building, and we came in to get approval for some improvements. I can share my screen if it's okay.
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, so this is the approved plan. Hopefully everyone can see that. So the yellow is the existing building. There's an existing shed here. And then the proposed improvements were the pool here in blue, a multi-purpose court next to it in green, and some additional parking spaces. So they did start their construction, and during construction, they encountered some utilities that weren't exactly where we expected them to be. And also they kind of refined some of their ideas as they started to get into construction and started designing things. So originally there was the pool located here with a deck that kind of just like was a deck that overlooked an open air deck. And then we had a bathroom and pool storage house right there. During the approval, during the beginning of the construction, there was a couple of things that changed. Like I said, that as they were kind of planning the building, what they came up with was to, instead of having that just open air deck, they wanted to move the pool building over so that there's bathrooms. The grades in this area also work out really well, that they can be in a basement level. So you can access the underside, and that'll be where there'll be like storage of equipment. The upper side will be accessed into the pool area, and that'll be where the bathrooms is. And then this area is a covered patio, but there's also a deck above. So it looks kind of like this. So this is looking at it from the pool. Here are the bathrooms. There's the covered patio, and then there's a deck above, which gives you some better views of the lake. And then here it is from the back. So like I said, you can access the underside of that basement area, and that's good for the storage and the pool equipment and all that, and the bathrooms above. And then again, this is the covered patio. So pretty similar. I'll flip from the approved. You can see where that deck used to be is right here in orange.
Yep.
We're just moving that building over. So it's in the same location, pretty similar. It's just kind of merging the two together. Other changes are the multi-use court. They wanted to make it a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit more functional. So I'll flip back, and you can see that it just expanded by, I think, 15 feet or so. Associated with some of these improvements, we revised some walkways that went around. Pretty much the same. It was a walkway that just kind of went around, but we work with the pool vendor and everybody to really just kind of fine tune what we're having. And then they also added a hot tub, which is connected to the pool, which is this rectangle right there, or that square. There's some improvements over here. Basically, there's a pipe that comes out from the abutting property that outlets into our property. it's a overflow from the water tower. And what happens is sometimes the water comes through really fast through there. So we're adding some erosion control, just putting some riprap in there. And then some of the stormwater, as it comes down the side of the driveway, it kind of scoured out the little drainage ditch on the side of the driveway. So we're adding some riprap there. And then the other two changes are there's an underground electric line that we didn't really know where it was or how deep it was. And during construction, they realized that it would have been, it would have had to be relocated because of the excavation for the new parking spaces. So what they're doing is they're leaving that mounded up because it'd be really expensive to relocate that power line. And we end up losing 2 parking spaces here. But what we did do is they had enough material here that they were able to add 2 parking spaces on the other side. And then in this corner, we were originally putting a dumpster up here, but we're keeping it down in the lower level. So we actually gained 1 parking space from what we previously had approved. And then also the propane tank, because that underground electric, we ended up moving the propane. It was originally going to be down in this area, but the electric is there. So we moved it right around the corner. And, some minor grading changes associated with having the lower level, which actually works out really well because the land is stepped down. So pretty much the same thing. Like I said, I'll flip back and forth and you can see the changes are in the grand scheme of things, very, very small, but because it's not what we had approved. Obviously, we wanted to run it by the city, and that's why we're here showing it to you. So I think I'll leave it there and happy to answer questions.
So did DigSafe fail to locate that underground line?
So DigSafe, we called DigSafe when we were doing test pits originally, and they did not locate that line. A lot of times they don't locate them on private sites if you're a certain distance from the street, because we're so far back from the street. So yeah, I don't think they hit it and damaged it. I don't know the exact situation, but those things aren't always where they say they are or where you think they are.
Yeah, well, it's always, I'm sure, a scary moment when the excavator discovers the underground utilities.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, well, we're doing a public hearing on this one, right? 8:06 p.m. I will open the public hearing on this application. Are there any members of the public or abutters who would like to be heard? I don't see any here in this building, in this room. Do we have anyone online, Mr. Mora?
No, sir, nobody has indicated online that they wish to speak for or against the application.
Well, due process has reared its ugly head again. 8:07 p.m. We'll close the public hearing and we will hear from Mr. Griffith.
Nothing new really to put on for conditions. All of the previous conditions from last year's approval will still apply, obviously, with the exception of the changes that they are proposing at this moment.
Are you satisfied about the site stability and in drainage?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Trefethan from members of the board?
Dean, are you satisfied that the concerns that were raised in the Fuss and O'Neill memorandum have been satisfied? There was concern from the technical review committee dated November 2021.
Yeah, that's fine. And we'll take care of that during building permit process.
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Susie.
Oh, my mute was off. You heard it. Excellent. The fire pit, I was just looking at it. Is that truly right next to a parking lot?
I can share my screen again. I can pull the plan up.
I think I'm looking at the right one. It's right down, I think that says number 9 or 6. And there it is, right, if you move your little hand over to the, oh, no,
Sorry, I'll zoom in. You're talking on the lower level?
yes, right there, existing fire pit. Is that going to, are people partying near the parking lot or?
I don't believe so, but Noel Dulac from Cedar Lodge is on. I don't know if he's able to speak. Noel, are you there?
It just seemed like a strange spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here, Brian. Yeah, that has been there for any number of years. I don't know if you guys can you hear me? This is Noel Dulac.
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Mr. Dulac.
Excellent, thank you. It has been there at least over the 10 years that I have been there. Just an existing rock formation fire pit. Are they partying there? I'd like to say no, but it does tend to happen during bike week. So it's generally not an active spot. But during bike week, we do see that it is being used.
Drive-through fire pit, yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, a little tailgating action, cooking some hot dogs.
From the way it looks here, it's right on top of that parking spot. It actually is set back a bit into that triangle of land. So it's not quite right there, but.
Oh, okay. I literally was picturing a car parking there and just melting from.
Yeah, it's a good 10 feet from that parking spot.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions for the applicant? Sorry, Brett. All right.
My God, you said s'more.
That was pretty
I never
good.
said anything.
That was a good dad joke.
Yeah. Any other questions? Sensing none.
Make a motion to approve PL 2020-0085 SP Amendment 1, 375 Endicott Street North.
Thank you once again, Chief.
That's what I'm here for.
I know, apparently.
Just keeping us moving.
That's right.
Keep the train rolling.
That's right. And it's seconded by Mr. St. Clair over there. Any discussion? Sensing none, then I guess we'll ask for a call the roll.
Susie,
Yes, yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Biati,
Yes.
Brett Belvo,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yep. All right, it passed unanimously. We like that.
Thank you all very much. Have a
You're
great
welcome.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda I see here, they've asked for continuance to January 4th, 2022. And I don't think we need to take a vote on that, do we? We do? Table motion, yeah, okay. So we need a motion, I guess, to table PL 2021-0137 SP, et cetera, 23 Summit Ave to January 4th, 2022. Somebody just say so moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by the chief and a second by Mr. McNeil. Is there any discussion? Sensing none, may we have a roll call, please?
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Brett Belvo,
Yes.
Rich McNeil,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Kirk Biati,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Thank you. I asked for that, I know. Okay,
Never have made fun of me.
I wasn't making fun of you. I was enjoying your participation in the meeting. Okay, moving right along. We are being asked to accept application PL 2021-0130 OSB and 0131 CUP. This is Artisan Court in Waterford Place, proposal to construct self-storage facility with associate parking, utilities, and office within the wetland buffer. So is the application in order and ready for acceptance by the board?
Yes.
Right then, would anyone care to make a motion to accept PL 2021-0130?
I'll make a motion that we accept the application for PL 2021-0130 SP and 0131 CUP.
Motion made by Mr. Bellevue. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kirk Beatty. Is there any discussion? Sensing none, maybe have a roll call.
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Brett Bellevue,
Yes.
Rick McNeil,
Yes.
Charlie Sinclair,
Yes.
Kirk Beatty.
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yes.
Peter Burnett.
Yes. Okay, so another unanimous vote. Where am I going? There's another page here. I know there is. I want to thank Kalina for doing such a good job marking up my agendas for me. You did the same for our vice chair last time, which was nice. She did very well, I think. New business. Rob, are you gonna take this one, or
Sure, I can take this one.
this is the capital improvement plan, capital improvement plan committee has made certain recommendations to the planning board, and Mr. Morrow was the staff assigned to the committee.
Right, so each year we do our CIP budget process, and we forecast out for the next 6 years of items that meet the criteria for capital budgeting.
Yep.
We had some new members on the board this year. It was very exciting. We also had a new chair who did an exceptional job.
Oh, stop it.
Could you mute her, please?
Oh, my God.
I can't, she wrote the letter for the CIP this year.
Oh, that's right. We can't. That's right.
As a department head, I'll say she did an outstanding job. And,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
How many fire trucks did you get?
8.
8. There we go. A new world's record. Yeah, I like the competing ladders thing. That's really great. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rob. We went completely off the rails on you.
Right. But in summary, the process went much like many other years, where every other year, we're maintained in the city roads is the most popular one. This year, we actually had a different one that hit the top marker, and that was the parking garage. Hopefully, that being said by the boards, that city council will look at that and decide to move forward with funding for projects such as that. We also this year had a resident show up and was very vocal about concerns that they had concerning a bridge and maintenance out on Hilliard Road.
Yep.
So that was very important. I think the board reflected the concerns that that resident brought forward. It's fantastic.
Yes. All right.
And I think overall it was a fantastic year, and the departments did great presentations. Our department had a great PowerPoint.
Yep. Yep. Did you have a question, Scott?
Oh, no.
This year we did have one unique thing that I had never seen before. There was an item that Public Works, not Public Works, Parks and Rec had sent forward, and the committee actually broke that up into 3 parts, hoping to get funding for 2 of the 3 parts for it, and that was for the replacement of the lifeguard chairs and the gazebo in the weirs, and then to move the remediation of the geese, to move the last item on the approval.
Excuse me.
Nomination.
Yes, geese remediation. Okay.
Hopefully Parks and Rec will find out.
That is an intractable problem in a lot of places, unfortunately. Are there any questions for Mr. Mora?
Oh, Rob, just real quick, how does the city determine which sidewalks should get addressed? Is there a process or?
That I do not know. That what Public Works puts together their. That's more individual of how Parks and Work classifies the roads and what those layout, which sidewalks gets done. That's this was more of a higher level of how much money they get.
Right, yeah.
Wes Anderson could probably give you a better indication of which sidewalks would be in his forecast for being done next year.
Okay, thank you.
I believe it's the squeaky wheel
Okay.
process.
Just start doing some squeaking.
Or in association with projects by water?
I can't give you a copy of the packet. I can email it to you if you'd like, which outlines all of the projects and which roads are getting done.
That would be great. Thank you. Yeah.
Would the vice chair like to comment?
I was wondering, the weekly newsletter that comes out about the city?
Links.
Yep.
Laconia Links, yeah. I didn't know, is it even worth it to try and get some input from the public on the geese? Because I'm just wondering if anybody out there has a better idea on how to deal with them.
Public input on the geese. Maybe we could do a charrette.
Belknap County Sportsmen's Association.
All we need is green, I think, and we could do a charrette.
I mean, my suggestion was to go to plastic grass. And you could just rinse it clean or let the rain clean it, but the geese would go away because the food has gone away.
I see.
I'm just saying that that's just an example of what could come across the board, but if we ask the public what if they have any good ideas, and maybe we'll just wake up one morning and somebody will have captured them all for us and gone and cooked them or something, but
I don't think so.
No, it's probably not
I don't think so.
gonna happen, but Charlie's against it.
No, it's not just Charlie. There's a lot of people that would be it's not even people unhappy. It's just the image of the city of Laconia and what we're doing with this thing on the lake and et cetera, et cetera. It's not a laughing matter. It's not a joke to a lot of people. I get their.
well, they're
opinions about it.
disgusting.
I get that.
Understood. Anything further, Stacy? Okay.
Nope.
So, what is the pleasure of the board? We do need a motion to accept this. What we're being asked to do is to decide whether to recommend the final scores from the Capital Improvements Plan Committee to the City Council for consideration as part of the budget process. Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion from Ms. Susie. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion regarding the CIP for 2021-22? Sensing none, may we have a roll call, please?
Scott McWilliam,
Yes.
Brett Bellavose,
Yes.
Steve Neal,
Yes.
Charlie St. Clair,
Yes.
Art Beatty,
Yes.
Stacy Susie,
Yeah.
and Peter Burnett. Sorry.
Yes. All right, so good business. We did quite a bit there, sir. I don't see any old business.
Wait a minute, skip one.
I did? Oh, yes. There, board members' proposal to discuss changing allowable structure height in certain zones.
Don't you dare skip that.
Okay, what would you like to have us discuss?
A board member approached me about on this subject matter, and I think it would be up to the board member to present their reasoning.
So, like I said last meeting, unfortunately, we don't have all the members here. I'm not sure if we should wait until everyone is here, but I'm curious as to how many other people would like to start the process of changing the ordinance on the, I believe it's 60 feet height in buildings. Is that right? Or
I think it varies by zone, doesn't it?
It does.
There's a maximum building height in each of the zones.
Yeah, most of the zones are 35, with the exception is the RA, the CR, commercial, and the UC zones are 60.
So it basically in the urban compacted areas and the commercial resort areas.
Right.
What was the residential one?
That's the RA, that's the like Blueberry Lane, the high density
Okay.
apartment.
Yep.
There it's 60 feet. May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Lakeside Avenue is what?
Lakeside Avenue is in the CR zone, it would be 60 feet.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Right.
Yes, I would be very much in favor of revisiting this also,
So,
Mr. Chair.
Chief, what's the upper limit as far as fire protection goes?
It really more depends on how far off the road they are. So it's more,
It's a function of the terrain around it.
yeah,
basically.
so, I mean, a two-story building could be too high if it sits too far off the road. So, you know, like the ones, just to use as a newer example, the Barton's property, I know it's wrong terminology for it, look high.
Yeah.
They're close to the driveway, so we actually reach very easily.
But they're not 60 feet.
No, I mean, you know, well, let's put it like this, other than church steeples, we can reach the roof of everything in the city.
Yeah.
So that makes it easier to kind of look at that right now.
Yep.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I do
course.
have a few pictures to share with the board to address this issue, if you don't mind. So I went out today, took some pictures and let me just kind of back up a little bit. So I understand the comments that have been made over the past year or so on a couple of projects about height. And this is not to editorialize about what the right number should be, but rather to address the comments that were made to the board at the time.
Yep.
So using Barton's as an example, the comment to the board was that they were going to be too high and they were going to tower over the trees. For those of you who were here at the time will remember those comments from one or two board members and some members of the public. So this is a picture of the current development at the former Barton's Motel site. This is taken from the food pantry parking lot. So it's across Union Avenue and looking at the buildings. And as you can see, the trees tower over the buildings as opposed to the other way around.
And those buildings are how tall? 44 feet.
45.
45 to 48. Yeah.
48, okay, because I
Yep,
was
okay.
told by.
You could go to the
over
next
44.
picture, Rob. This is from Lake Street. Obviously looking over all of the neighbors who are complaining about the buildings.
Yeah. Some of those tombstones look
This is-
pretty high to me.
This is, yeah, so this is kind of, as you're driving down Lake and you're coming up to the traffic lights,
Right.
this is the view that you see.
Bayside Cemetery.
Bayside Cemetery. So, I mean, it's a perspective thing. So the trees are not really that tall. If you go to the next one, Rob. This is parked in front of the cemetery at basically John's Roast Beef, across the street from John's Roast Beef. Looking at the trees, this is a more accurate representation. You know, you can see that the building is not towering over the trees. It's not even towering over the maple trees that are along the property line of the cemetery.
And in the summer, you wouldn't even see the
You wouldn't see it. Yeah, there's no leaves now, obviously. Yeah, you're right. Correct. Next one, please, Rob. And that's a little bit more of a close-up of, again, if there were leaves on the trees, you would have a hard time seeing the buildings. Next one, please. This is taken from the foot of Appleton Street in Lakeport. from the Irwin property. I was probably trespassing when I took this picture, but this is
Cass's
212.
Point,
This
I
is
think it's called.
1212 Union Avenue, the 2 duplex buildings that are
Mhm.
being built on the former Burger King lot.
So you
But
got them
what
from
what
the
I'm
better
pointing out to
side.
you,
Yeah.
which other than some architectural aesthetics that I've heard from a couple of people that don't like them, the point of this picture is to look at their relationship, their roofline relationship to the trees that are adjacent to them.
And the terrain behind, which is.
And the trees behind it, you're
Yep.
right. And if you could go to the next one, this is taken from the same spot. This is looking at the new Barton's proposal. Again, you can see that the trees are taller than the buildings. Go to the next one, please, Rob. This is taken from Pogus Park Road.
Yep.
One of the other comments that was made to the board by a former board member was, you will not be able to see the mountains. The buildings will be in the way.
Well, I think too, you have to keep in mind that these are not finished.
Well, the first three on the left are finished. They're at height.
Right, but I mean from the siding, because that's supposed to be all stone and stuff.
Right.
on the
Well,
front.
I'm
So
more
it'll
concerned
blend in
about
even
your-
more.
Yeah,
blocking.
well, you're right. It could
Mhm.
blend in more. I would point out to you, this is an aside, behind the unfinished building, you can see the darker tree line. That is in Guilford. That is the area that's been cleared by Irwin Marine for boat storage. So that's a little more.
That's the other side of Black Brook.
Yes, the
Yeah.
other side of Black Brook. But again, the perspective here is they are obviously shorter than the trees. And even if they were 15 feet higher, they would be shorter than the trees, and they do not block the mountains. And so I just want to put this into perspective that yes, things get said to the board by either board members or by abutters, and certainly people are very right in making their comments and voicing their opinions. I'm not saying that they should not, but just because someone says something, don't make it so. And and as board members, you hear this from time to time on different projects. So it just is, I just wanted to show you those pictures as a perspective of what was said to the board and what the reality of the situation.
And
really
this
is.
board can deviate from the dimensional tables if we wish. We
If
could
you-
say, given the particular application, that we want the height to be less than the maximum.
You could, I mean, and you would have to give a specific reason, a technical or, site master plan or something like that as a reason for denying an application that conforms to regulations. But yes, you are right.
I
You
think we could just based on public input. That's what we have public hearings for.
You could.
We
I
can
mean,
be
take-
all sitting here going, this is gonna be a piece of cake, and then the abutters show up and suddenly we're talking about the height,
Right.
So
Can I ask a
that's what we
question?
do. That's our function, actually.
That didn't work out too well last meeting.
No,
So
Wouldn't
I missed the last meeting. So this whole thing that we're talking about here, are we discussing changing it to make it lower? And grandfathering all of the projects that have been,
Oh, and-
I missed this.
Yeah,
whole-
anything that's approved and actually anything that's proposed right now, which we don't have anything that would be the height that's proposed right now.
So
But
the,
any application we already have and any application we've already approved would be not affected at all. So the marina proposal, for example, would,
Is done.
it's been approved. It is what it is.
so this discussion though was because some people voiced an opinion that they would like to lower the allowable.
They thought the
height.
proposed buildings would be were
high.
too high.
Okay, okay.
And the only people who spoke in favor of it was the developer. Nobody was there other than the developer speaking. And I understand that. But if I could, Mr. Chair.
of course.
Stacy, I agree with you, and I don't know what Stacy's proposal would be, but I could see us making some changes in certain areas. I voted in favor of the Barton's Motel project. I've never been concerned about trees, more than location of these buildings, and so, or of buildings of this height. And Lakeside Avenue would be one such area that I would be most concerned about. I have no idea what that developer wants to do with Judy Krahulik's house, if that comes to being torn down, or if they achieve buying the property next to that. I can see them trying to put a 60-foot building there, because that's where you make the most money. The higher it is, the more money you make.
Sure.
But I can't, for the life of me, imagine that would be a very well received by the citizens of Laconia, never mind the residents up there. So I don't know what Stacy has in mind, but I certainly would be in favor of revisiting this particular thing.
So, and I don't know what number she has in mind either. And just for clarification from is your concern at the Weirs really limited to Lakeside Avenue and adjacency, or the entire CR district, which would include
my personal
drive-in, theater, land, the former, whatever that's, the slide thing and all that stuff?
If you're asking me personally, I think you would have to talk about, we'll see what Stacy wants to do, but I think, no, I'm not, personally, I'm not saying the entire CR zone, but I think it should be looked at a little more carefully.
Okay.
Because we've seen two examples, Dean, of two developers looking at how their abutters react to their plans. We've seen one developer say, sorry, those are your rules and we're going by them and nothing you can do about it. And another developer who listened to his neighbors, and I might remind everybody, that guy's not living there. It's not like he has to listen to them all the time, but he listened to the neighbors and at some pretty good expense changed his plans to accommodate them. And again, so we've seen two examples of this.
It's a good discussion to have. So Stacy, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I wanted to ask Dean if it did get lowered to what it was, say, 40 years ago or before it got changed to 60, would an applicant be allowed to come in and ask for a waiver on the height and be allowed to go higher if it was appropriate in that whatever area they were looking at?
They would have to get a variance from the zoning board for height. I'm not sure when the 60-foot was put into existence, but probably a long time ago. But I can try to do that research. When you start going back 30, 40 years, I'm not sure that we have the old table of use, the table of dimensional requirements from prior to, say, 1990. So I don't know when the 60-foot was put in.
I thought it was put in with a CR zone. You're saying it was sooner than earlier?
I don't know. I don't know.
It was a CR zone.
Well, Dean, what would you suggest we do?
If you want us to do the research on when the 60-foot was put in, we'd be more than happy to do that, and we can report back to you. And then in the meantime, people can think about what they think the number should be, and we could craft it in such a way that we have kind of a not sure exactly how we would do it yet, but I believe we could craft it in such a way that you could have a lower number and then have some type of certainly you could do the variance route, but maybe some type of a conditional use permit to go to a higher number. And that would give you, the
case by case,
the leeway within a given application of you could say, no, that's too tall for that specific location, and you would be within your regulatory rights to do that.
Well, I think my point was that even if the applicant meets the, the dimensions set forth in the table, the board can, as a result of comments from public hearing, could require the building to be short, to be less tall.
Or you don't approve the project.
Just don't approve it as submitted and then come
Right.
back.
I mean, you could, there's a number of ways you could do that, but yes, you're absolutely
In
correct.
other words, what I'm saying is that it's a good issue to study and to keep an eye on and maybe adjust the ordinance, but the current function of the planning board includes doing a case-by-case assessment as to the appropriateness of the design. Sometimes the developer does say, hey, we get a right to it. And the answer to that question is no, you don't really. You can get a conditional use permit.
Yeah.
And the conditions are what we set. And we rely heavily upon the staff for that, but still nonetheless. And we did, I think, if we keep calling this Barton's, what is the actual name? I mean, I drive by Irwin's and call it Grand Union, so.
Lakeside
Lakeside
East
at Togus
or
Bay or something like that.
Lakeside East, so that, we had a full and fair public hearing on that one, I think, on 2 occasions, so.
So let me ask this, does it, go ahead, Rob.
I just had a question, or a statement, either or, but I was wondering if there was issues with perhaps height of certain structures such as boat storage, if another option might be, as opposed to adjusting height, might be to adjust and make architectural standards or some design standards as part of the conditional use permit to make some of those structures more visually appealing.
Gives you more teeth.
Give you a little more teeth. As
I've been advocating for, architectural standards for a long time.
We're talking about, like, what we talked about with those boat storage places, or what's on the siding? Or are you talking about the height being part of that appealing?
I think you can make both of those part of your conditional use permit for your boat storage. And then it wouldn't just be area specific, it would be citywide, that you need to have a CUP for this, and then you have a design standard that is strictly enforced just for that one use, if that one use is the largest concern.
So that kind of feeds into my question too. Does this have to be tied off of zoning? Because you mentioned, if I'm correct, 3 different zones that are limited to 60 feet. Can we put some kind of verbiage in there, just throwing an idea out there? A maximum of 60 feet or 5% taller than any abutting structure, or within a certain distance of a shoreline, this much. And as you get further away from the shoreline, gradually increasing to the maximum of 60. So either base it off of a distance from a certain terrain feature, or based off of existing structures around that. So you wouldn't be able to get a Space Needle next to a bunch of summer cottages. But you also couldn't build a 60-foot apartment complex in amongst low-level buildings. Even though it would be allowed in the zone for 60 foot, you would be well over the 5% higher than in any abutting.
Does that put us in a situation where we limit any kind of building in, say, the old surf coaster or at the drive-in?
Potentially, and that's, so the short answer, Brett, is yes, you could do any number of those things. The asterisk to that is the difficulty of crafting the language to do those things.
Create a standard so that the decision of the board is not considered arbitrary or capricious.
So what I would propose is let us go back and do the research on the history of this number.
Right.
And see if we can come up with when it was instituted, and maybe, but we probably won't be able to determine why it was the number. And I know in a lot of communities, the maximum height is driven by the fire department. It's driven by what they perceive to be the maximum height of their ladder. And in most cases, in most communities, the ladders could go to 100 feet if the truck is parked right next to the building, so.
The agenda center, that only has like the past year's worth of stuff on it.
Yeah, but I've got a wall full of historical documents, so we'll we'll try to figure it out. So the other thing is, so we'll do that, we'll do that research. Based on what's been said, I can work up a few optional proposals. In the meantime, if individually you wanted to just email me and suggest either a height that you're comfortable with or a range that you're comfortable with, and and we'll kind of do like a straw poll type situation, and I will come back to you we can put it on the agenda for January and have another discussion about it.
Okay, so just, if you're gonna do that, then there's another way of looking at this too, and that is, we're talking about aesthetics. We're not talking about fire safety. We're not talking about construction standards or codes. We're talking about big, ugly buildings. That's what's motivating this, right? This is what we're talking about.
I think it's about how tall. I think that's the issue.
Right, but I'm saying it's based on aesthetics. And the problem with aesthetics being applied by the planning board is that we need standards.
Well, that would be height.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. The suggestion, maybe understand that Dean's going to research the history, but regardless of the history, the problem is that we find ourselves often being asked to approve something that we don't really have a legal basis for not approving. And one of the things that we could do is develop architecturally based aesthetic standards so that the board could say, all right, based on this standard and this standard and this standard, some changes could be made to your design. And that might include decreasing the height. That might include resiting a building. It might include changing the grade in the foreground. I mean, there's a number of things that we could do as long as there are clear standards. Otherwise, it's just arbitrary.
But you said earlier, Mr. Chair, that it was our job to listen to the abutters.
Yeah.
If the abutters come in and say, you unanimously say, this is not what we want in our neighborhood, this is not good, it's too high. We could say, we go with the abutters, we say no. What does that, that's not arbitrarily, I feel we're doing our job, but I understand what you're saying, but again, to me, it's not citing, and that's not what we heard from people, it was height. And that's why I agree with Stacy that we need to look at this, and I don't want to beat the horse to death, but again, that we should look at different areas.
Chief?
The condos on Union Ave, the Bartons, quote unquote, what could that height have been? Is that in the 60?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, wow.
Well,
So would we ever lower the number so far low that it would be below that? We would have been in the same issues no matter what the height of those buildings were.
Right.
I think if those buildings had been 2-story high, we would have been still having those same arguments. So to arbitrarily change a number, 10 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet.
And just to clarify.
Same thing with the issue up
I
on.
mean, I agree, and that was the point of my pictures.
Right.
This is what the board was told when these projects came forward.
Right.
They're not true statements.
The issue, no, North Water
you-
Marine's the
they-
same.
They
same
are
house.
opinions, and they are personal opinions, and they are personal desires. But the comments to the board was, you won't see the mountains, and they will tower over the trees. Those are not true statements. Now, the butters are more than happy and more than, they have the ability to make those statements.
I didn't hear that from any abutters.
Oh, yeah.
What
Oh,
abutters?
no, it was definitely said you will lose the sight of the
But
mountains.
not
That
from
was,
above.
that was.
Somebody
specific-
from the other side of the
Specifically
lake.
said-
was
Not from
talking about it.
abutters,
A
not
previous
from
board member.
abutters,
A previous
went over there.
but not from abutters.
It was
Okay,
a
so-
pre,
John's Corvettes, you've got the cemetery.
Well,
and
we
you've got a
loosely
couple-
define the butters for the North Water.
Well, they
Marine
don't have to
Club.
be direct abutters. Anybody could come to this
Well,
meeting.
okay,
and
but they
comment.
weren't abutters.
and they
is what
did.
I'm saying. Yeah, there was the public.
But
the
it was,
public.
but
Charlie-
for Barton's, it was 2 board members who were very much against the height of the buildings.
Right.
And,
Char-
and they are, again, I want to be clear. as a board member, you are certainly, and you should, state your opinions and state your concerns and your objections, okay? And the same is true for abutters, okay? But just because it gets said, don't make it so.
And a lot of people, I think, Dean, those buildings all of a sudden made a lot of people realize how high 60 feet is. That's what a lot.
And you may be right. You may be right.
And so all of a sudden people, how high are those? They look like they're 100 feet tall. I go, no, they're only like 44, you're saying 48 feet tall.
Charlie,
Wow,
just to clarify, as I said, yes, when we can respond to public comment, all right. But I'm saying that the height is just one factor.
Of course.
If we had aesthetic standards that we could apply, we could look at the whole thing and say it's damned ugly, change it.
I thought we already did do that.
Well, but we can't just, we can't impose our personal opinions, or even to some extent, the public's personal opinions upon what the developer has already spent many times, tens of thousands of dollars on by the time it gets to us. We're supposed to weigh that consideration and the public consideration each time. And height is only one thing if we had aesthetic standards to consider. The exterior finish, the landscaping, the grading. We can change the grading for drainage purposes, but not necessarily because we think the tennis courts would look better back there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. I saw what they did to Cumberland Farms. Look at the weirs. Remember, they made them redo the whole roof. I don't think you were here then, Dean, but they made them redo the whole roof over the gas pumps because they didn't use the right aesthetics. That was the planning board.
Well, it wasn't quite that simple, but
Well, that's what they did.
yeah.
Because that's not what they proposed.
That's correct. So they made them do okay, thank you. You're here. You've been here forever.
It didn't match. It didn't match
So they
what
made them
had been
redo it. So
approved.
That's because they applied for a building permit with a set of drawings that were stamped and approved. And when it came back and they actually built it, it wasn't what was shown in the drawings.
Kind of like the marina in Lakeport. Yeah, I remember that.
All right, so we've got a plan going forward. Is there anything else about this topic?
Well, I'll just throw something out.
Sure.
I agree that those buildings down there for the marina are gonna be pretty much butt ugly. But by the same token, if somebody buys the movie theater and puts a big hotel, whatever, that's 60 foot tall in there, you just eliminated any sight line across the channel.
Right, exactly.
And it had nothing
But
to do with
it's
the
not
marina.
right there in your face. So I respectfully disagree with that.
Okay.
If you draw that in there, it is gonna be right there in your
Yeah,
face.
but then the marina will block the view of those big things up on the hill. A lot that plays into it too is the elevation.
Well, that's right.
If I own a
Topography.
property
Yep.
that's surrounded on three sides by steep slopes that are 120 foot, why can't I build a building 120 foot tall? I'm not blocking anybody's view, no matter what zone.
Well, with a CUP, you can.
Well, and with that comment, I think we'll close this part of the discussion.
Well, I just have one question, if I could, for Dean.
Is this relative to the planning department report, the next item on the agenda?
That would be old business, please.
Okay.
I have something for old business.
Oh, you do? All right, old business.
Where's Beach Village, which is the 90 unit, I think it is, development that's sort of on the corner of Hilliard Road and Endicott Street North. The requirement for that project was to construct a sidewalk on Hilliard Road from their lower driveway to Endicott Street. We've had, over the course of the past several months, numerous discussions with the developer about that sidewalk. The biggest issue is that the sidewalk was proposed to be on the opposite side of Hilliard Road from the Weirs Beach Village project. And there is no right-of-way space over there, plus it drops off significantly. So the city does not own very much land on that side of the street. It's only from the edge of pavement to property line of the, what's the name of that condo project? That Brandy lived in. Weir's Crossing is like 2 or 3 feet from the edge of pavement to the actual property line. So the solution that planning staff, along with Department of Public Works, came up with is to put the sidewalk on same side of Hilliard Street, Hilliard Road that the development is on. And that in fact has been done. We kind of gave them a little bit of a incentive, or ultimatum might be another word.
Wait,
but
I had
an
a rubber
incentive.
stamp here somewhere.
Yeah, so they decided to, after dragging their feet for 2 years on constructing the sidewalk, they did it in about 10 days. So anyway, the sidewalk has been constructed, it's there and done. And the question that I have to the board is, are you okay with the sidewalk being on that side of the street without amending the site plan? That's the question. The site plan shows it being on the opposite side. It is not going to be there. It's built.
I think
And that
it's on the
was
better side of the street.
Yeah, why wasn't it on the same side as the development in the first place?
before my
Make more
time, I
sense.
don't know.
Was part of the site plan for the development doing an as-built?
They have been doing as-built for the individuals. I think and I don't know this for sure, Scott, but I think part of the answer to your question was there is a small section of sidewalk on Hilliard from Endicott into Hilliard that goes about 200 feet, maybe the most, maybe 150 feet. So I think the idea was we're going to connect up to that to the sidewalk, but we have a sidewalk now from their lower driveway all the way up to Endicott Street. My question to you is, are you going to require them to do a site plan amendment, or are we good?
Can they submit the as-built plan to us for approval?
They could.
Because that would be a tacit, if not express modification of the original conditional use permit.
Yep.
And it's nothing extra on the developer.
Right.
It's just us acknowledging that it's there.
Because I'm thinking it could come back and bite the developer.
It could.
It's somewhere down the road.
Could.
It could be relative to the sale of the property and so on. Because anything we approve runs with the property, obviously.
Yeah. So you want the developer to produce an as-built for the.
Does that make sense? And submit it to us under old business next month?
Or when it's done. Yeah.
Or when it's done.
Sure, can do. That would be perfect.
I have a
Okay.
question there on that one.
Sure.
So I'm assuming that when this thing was proposed and they came in with the plan, DPW looked at it and said, the sidewalk's on the opposite side of the street, we're okay with that? And they didn't realize that they had no easement or enough room to put the sidewalk on at that time?
Digging at.
I don't know.
It was during the winter.
It was
buried in
I
snow.
think the original approval was 2007 or 2008. And
People were
I don't
skinnier
know.
back then.
Six? 2006, according to our archivist.
They're gonna plow that sidewalk this winter?
I don't know what Department of Public Works is going to do.
They've been working up there this last winter.
It's not an accepted
actually have a
sidewalk.
machine.
Park Street, I found out, is not an accepted street. So
Right.
that's okay. All right. No, we
And
got
the hits
all
keep
these
coming.
reports that need to be done.
9/12.
So are we at 13 now? The planning
Yes, you
department
have, and
report?
I'm gonna say we're good to go here.
Stacy, anything from conservation?
Yes, I believe that they were spoken to about the change of percentages of green space becoming a regulation, and Dean went over all the pros of deleting green space, and the way that he presented it, the conservation seemed quite fine with it. The main gist of it was it's eliminating hurdles to accommodate ADUs. Single family could become a duplex, The infrastructure already exists, so there would be no extra costs with roads, water, electric. It really equals increasing density without actually losing open space. Some people's taxes would go up, but some people would realize the additional income. And we all agreed that infill adds to the core of the city.
Cool. Any other liaison reports this evening? I don't think so.
I'm just gonna be really quick. Lakes Region Planning Commission did a recycling presentation, and cardboard is like our #1 moneymaker. And so I've been talking to people, talking up a storm over separate your cardboard from recycling and bring it down to Messer Street and bale it there. And 5 people came back to me and said that they could not get their cardboard in there because it was not emptied. And I was just curious.
Stacy, I was gonna say, tell your friends to ignore the sign that says, don't leave it outside the cage there. And just pile it up there, because guess what? That gets put in the bin.
Well, and if you properly break it down, they'll take it curbside too.
The problem with curbside is it gets mixed in with everything else, and
Yeah.
half the time it gets.
Oh, they
contaminated.
don't have,
Oh, God, no.
oh, I didn't know
God
that.
forbid.
Right,
No.
that's what my
Did
point
anybody see
was.
the article in the Daily Sun about what Guilford is making off theirs? And I go down there, I just went the other day, and there's 2 city employees that spend half a day emptying those things out to stuff that in there. We are not making any money off recycling cardboard. It's costing us money.
Guilford?
No.
Yeah,
Laconia.
Guilford separates everything now.
They have-
Yeah, I know.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even glass.
Well,
Even glass.
Even glass.
They're grinding it, putting it in pavement.
Well, it's good to know anyway that there's some portion of our refuse that has economic value in this day and age.
Guilford, it all does.
And Guilford, it all does. Yeah, they got multi-lane service up there, by golly. All right. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn, or should we just all leave?
Hey, it's great to have you back. I will make a motion.
9 o'clock.
I'm feeling sick for next month.
No, you're not.
Okay. Motion made, seconded?
Motion.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.